All right, so my project is called the soccer ball return. The problem that it solves is that imagine if you're in a soccer field and you're just alone by yourself and you're shooting balls. You don't want to go get the ball every time because that spends a lot of time instead of being shooting. So this is my finished product. This is just a prototype in a smaller size. I plan to make it bigger in the future, but what it does is that you shoot the ball and then it falls on the platform in the bottom, which is slanted, and it rolls in front of a solenoid, which shoots it back to you when you push a button. This is my first prototype, and some of the problems that I had is that the ball bounced off the back of the goal because it was made of plastic, and it wasn't realistic because it didn't have a net, and the top of the goal kept sticking off every time after I glued it with epoxy. So what I did to solve it is I made this prototype, which has a net in it, and it's more realistic. Some of the tools I used during my project was a plastic bender to bend the platform, a jigsaw that I worked on with my first prototype. I used a bandsaw to cut some plastic to make the platform. I used a drill to make my first prototype and to drill in the screws for the final prototype. I used a drill press to also make holes in the wood to screw in the screws. And I used a dual bevel sliding miter saw to cut the wood so I could put it all together. And I used a soldering iron to put some of the metal in the prototype. And I used a table saw to cut more wood. Some of the problems that I had was that the ball bounced off the back of the goal. And as I said, I just put a net in the new prototype. And the problem with the prototype was getting the ball in front of the solenoid so it could be fired back to the player. And the solution was building a bent platform so the ball automatically rolls to the solenoid because of gravity. The market is, for the life-size model, I would like to sell it to soccer clubs and to high schools and colleges. And the small model, which I also plan to sell as a board game, is to soccer fans, families, and kids who would like to buy it. The life-size model, I would like to sell it online and in soccer equipment stores. And the small model I could sell online in toy stores and in soccer and sports stores. So the cost for my small prototype would be $46.56, and I would plan to sell it for about $70. Thank you.
Again, let's go back to the costs. We always like to know about the costs. Here we go. How much would you actually, if I was a high school, Canaan, and I wanted to buy one of these, what do you think you'd be selling it for? One unit?
$900 to $1,000.
$1,000. And what do you think, how much money would you have put into that product?
Well, the cost for producing it would be maybe about $600. And the final cost of $1,000 will also include the installation process in the goal.
These costs are for your models?
Yeah, for the model.
Right, okay. I had one other question, and you and I talked about it yesterday, but and often when you're in lacrosse, I never played soccer, but you're always going from the goal from one side in practice or the other side. Could you get the unit here to direct the ball back to where the line is? In other words, if people are shooting from the right-hand side, would the ball come back to the right-hand side?
Yeah, in the future, I plan to have a remote control, which would control, well, when it shoots back to you and where and how far it goes, and to control the power of it.
So. Okay. And the other question I'd have is have you put any thought into how do you gather the ball? I mean, it's one thing in a model like this, but in a big soccer goal, how would you gather? I always make sure the ball gets to wherever that unit is that's going to send it back.
Well, the ground would be slanted as this product with, but instead of being plastic, it would be the actual grass, which would be in there, and it wouldn't be like on top. It would be like below the actual.
So you'd have an angle going back to the machine?
Yeah.
One question on cost. You didn't include the cost of the net.
Oh, the net. Well, I got it from the Gates lab, and there was a hockey goal.
Okay. Easy enough to reuse. Just was a bit curious. And the other question I have is on the larger goal. It's a hard problem to adjust to having a larger set. Digging into a ground is hard. A lot of times on soccer fields, you pull out the goals, and then at the end of the game, you put the goals away because a football match is going to be there, or a lacrosse match. If you have huge divots in the ground, it's going to be very hard. Do you imagine that this would be one solid unit platform, or that you would actually require actual digging into the ground to make it work?
I think it will be one solid unit that you just put in the ground, but then you'd have to dig, put it in, and then you could take it out and put it back.
I like the answer. You stick to your guns.
Well, if Mr. Feifel's questions, the themes of his questions are going to be about cost, mine are going to be about the problem statement and the why. If you scale this up and I shoot, well, first of all, if I scale this up and I'm a high school soccer player, how many balls do I shoot every practice?
Well, it depends on the drills you're doing. If you're doing a shooting drill, you're maybe shooting 30 to 40 balls.
Okay, and if I shoot 40 balls, how long does it take me to go retrieve those on average?
About each time, maybe take 3 minutes to go and come back and shoot again.
And with your product, how much time do I save?
It'll take about 5 seconds to have the ball back where you are.
Okay, so theoretically, I know I'm asking you to guess a lot here, but how many more balls do you think I could shoot every practice if I had your product?
Well, for every ball that you would shoot, going and retrieving the ball, you can shoot about 20 balls with my project.
Yeah, I think that's key. And if I'm a high school player, if I'm trying to go to the big leagues, I want quantity. I want to shoot as many balls as I can over the course of a season. And I think that's the real problem that you're solving. And that's kind of the one killer statement you can make. You can say, if you buy this product, you shoot 10,000 more shots every season, and that I think would be really killer. So I think again, you solved a good problem.
Yeah, I have one more question.
Jack?
Wait a minute, excuse me, I have one more. I know you've worked a lot with a model, and I appreciate that, and I really applaud the fact that you take a model and you to go to a larger size, and then you go, wait a minute, the model's fun, so now I have two products, I don't have just one. I really think that's very, very smart. How does, if someone was playing with a model, if you sold it as a game, do you find your friends, have they been playing with it, and does it shoot back pretty good, or how does it work?
Yeah, it shoots back the ball. They've been playing with their finger and shooting it in, and it shoots back to them, so that's good too.
And generally speaking, you think people are having fun playing with it?
Yeah, they look like they've been having fun.
Cool.
Jack? Sorry?
Would the slants affect the shirt?
No, because you could remove the platform and then put it back. Sean?
Are you selling with the entire net or just the plastic part and the back? It's okay. I mean, you can sell the net when you're selling to the store, but most of the schools in the high school might have or might already have the nets.
Yeah, for the small prototype, I would sell with the net and with the goal and everything included, and with the bigger prototype, I would only sell the platform and the solenoid.
If someone's going to ask a question, I'll bring it. We can't hear all the questions here. You have.
If you were to sell this as a little game or something, what makes it better that the ball comes back to you rather than reaching over and grabbing it?
It makes it better because you can just stay where you are instead of having to go and retrieve it. Peter?
Well, you mentioned turf. How would
Let's go with the microphone.
if you were able to sell this, could you use it on other nets like hockey nets or lacrosse nets?
You would have to adapt the prototype, but yeah, you could have it for another sport.
Could you install a smaller one on a foosball table or something so you don't have to reach in for the ball and can just shoot it back out?
Yeah, you could install it in the football table too.
If you have enough power, when you're kicking it, couldn't you potentially break the plastic?
Well, the real prototype wouldn't be made of such a weak plastic. It would be made of a thicker plastic, so it wouldn't break with the ball.
Would you ever think of making it with a timer so it's quicker instead of having someone having to push the button?
Well, the problem with that is that you take more time shooting, like you take different amounts of time shooting the ball every time. So that's why we don't have a timer. But I've thought about a sensor that or like a pressure plate that you put. And the problem with that also is that if someone steps in front of it, or like it senses.
Let's say you're practicing with the ball, and then like for the next 5 minutes you're playing the game, and then if that is still on, the goalie gets scored and just shoots it in the back. So can you turn it on and off?
You can turn it on and off.
I think we have time for one more question.
All right.
With the machine that returns the ball, would that be based off a button, or would it just always be running?
It would be based on a button. And the reason because of that is that because if I have a sensor, it could sense someone's leg, and then it would potentially hurt a person. So that's because of safety reasons. Thank you.
Thank you.